But then I was like, I really can't do it alone now that I'm a mom and I can't dedicate as much time, and because it was stressful. And so I was like, I need to bring people on. So I started bringing like-minded people on, and I've learned a lot over the years because not all of them were what they say they were or wanted to be or do. Um, but I've learned, and I have a lot of all my leaders in my agency were the people that they said they were. And I gave them the opportunity and they trusted me, and they really helped elevate my business to where it's at today. So there's no way I could do it without them because they're on the front lines. They're the people that help me duplicate myself.
Welcome to the Confident Mompreneur podcast, where you can find solid advice along with warm guidance on motherhood, business, relationships, health, wellness, and everything you need to help add to your confidence and zest for life. And with interesting guests from all around the world, you'll hear real and relatable stories with impact and nuggets of wisdom to help you or the mompreneur meet the challenges of life with clarity and success. Now let's welcome your mompreneur host, Kyrie.
Well, welcome on this afternoon, Brooke. I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited we can make this work.
Me too. I had the opportunity to meet Brooke at a insurance conference that was hosted by Casey Cucker, who we've had on here before, and we love Miss Casey. She's great. And I met Brooke, and she spoke at the conference, and I was like, this is my kind of girl. I need her on the podcast.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm so glad to be here. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, she's so cool. I want to get to know her more, and started following you and all of your things. And I just think you're so real and so transparent and so inspiring. So I'm very humbled to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. That makes me feel nice. So, for those who don't know you, do you want to start us out by introducing yourself, a little bit about who you are, what you do, your family, all the good things?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm a mom of two boys. I love being a boy mom. We're a huge sports family. Briggs and Jacks, they're 6th and 10th grade. I cannot believe it. Time has flown. And I'm married to my husband, Jason. We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary.
Wow,
And
congrats.
I know. Yes, I'm like, hey, 20 years. It's crazy. Like almost half my life with one person. It's wild.
Yeah.
But I started my business in 2008 as a scratch agent. So for those that don't know insurance lingo, that just means I didn't have any customers. Like sometimes you can buy a book or you can start scratch. So I started scratch because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. Plus, I'd never done insurance before. I'd never owned a business before, but my recruiter took a chance on me because I was like, I have a passion for this. And it was due to a family tragedy. He saw something in me and gave me an opportunity. So fast forward 16 years later, here I am. I had, at one point before COVID, I had 3 different agencies in 3 different locations, but we combined them, purchased a building, and now I have a lot of remote staff, which is really cool because it kind of opened doors all over the U.S. for me, the talent pool that we can have here. And we have about a $15 million agency, and, we're just tootling right along, just working hard, trying to level up. And, that's where I am today.
It's amazing. She is so good at what she does. And the fact that you started it from scratch, I mean, being in the insurance industry, there are a lot of people that don't do that. They buy and then build from there, which is obviously much easier than starting from scratch. What was that like for you? And how did you transition kind of into this salesy role, but do it in an ethical way that has obviously allowed you to keep and build customers over the years?
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to help people. I knew that I wanted to be a business owner. And when this opportunity presented itself, I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm the hardest worker out there. There's not a job I won't do or haven't done as a business owner, because I think that's important. You need to do all the jobs, wear all the hats to be successful. So I think that has definitely, helped me I found mentors over the years that have been amazing. For me, I try to keep a positive mindset. But one of the biggest things that have, for me to be able to scale my business and get to where I am today is my team. I'm one person, right? And I'm a mom too. So it's a big juggling act. But I knew I needed some good people around me if I was going to really build a business because it was hard. You are wearing all the hats, and I was working, I don't know, 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. I got pregnant 6 months into starting a scratch business.
Oh my
I
God.
didn't, right? I didn't think I could get pregnant. My husband and I tried fertility for 4 years. And then I just was like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. I'm going to open a business, put, what money I've saved, into that. And then of course, 6 months later, oh, you're pregnant on like no fertility, no anything. So it
That's
was,
usually how it goes when you're pressuring yourself into it. Like it just.
and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like we won an award trip like 6 months into the business. And on that Florida trip, hey, 9 months later, my first son was born. So, but then I was like, I really can't do it alone now that I'm a mom and I can't dedicate as much time and because it was stressful. And so I was like, I need to bring people on. So I started bringing like-minded people on and, I've learned a lot over the years because not all of them were what they say they were or wanted to be or do. But I've learned, and I have a lot of all my leaders in my agency were the people that they said they were. And I gave them the opportunity and they trusted me and they really helped elevate my business to where it's at today. So there's no way I could do it without them because they're on the front lines. They're the
Yeah.
people that help me duplicate myself.
Yeah, right. Well, and when we were at the conference, you actually brought a couple of the women that work with you, and they seemed amazing and great. And just like the kind of relationship that I can see that you have with your team is amazing. How many people do you have on your team now?
So there are 14 of us. Half of them are remote. So you met Kirby and Debbie.
Yeah.
Kirby is my operations manager. Debbie is my service manager. And Debbie started out with zero experience too, but I saw something in her and she was like, yeah, like this sounds like something I would like to do. I mean, she worked at Bed Bath and Beyond. I think that's what it was.
Mm.
And she was like, I love what you're doing. I think I want to be an agency owner one day. And then she was like, yeah, no, I don't want to be an agency owner anymore. Like, I see what you do. But
Yeah.
like one of your agencies for you. And I really like service. So she wore a lot of the hats too. And she's like my service queen. Like I can't, that's the heartbeat of your agency or your people. And you want to make them happy and to keep them right. And so you have to have someone who can be in there. And so she runs that. And then Kirby is she's amazing. She's so like technical, so like on top of organized, very structured, all the things that I'm not because I'm like super ADHD. And so it works great. She just like keeps me on path and in line. So I loved bringing them to that conference because it was like a women's conference and we could have that girl power together. And we've never done anything like that. We've gone to other insurance conferences, but they absolutely loved it. I loved having them and they came back like renewed and refreshed and we bonded even more. I think it's important because you spend a lot of time with everybody you work with,
Oh, yeah.
the majority of your day. So you got to be able to like the people that you work with for sure.
Yeah. Which is great that you're building that kind of environment. I feel like I'm a Debbie where I started, working as an agent. And then I discovered that I was like, I don't really like this, but I love the industry and I love like being able to help people. And so I moved from being an agent to being a team member. And I switched through a couple teams before I found the one that was the right fit for me. But now I've been with them for like 3 years and I just absolutely love it. And a lot of that has to do with the leadership that I'm now under. How did you like learn to become a leader as you started growing your agency? And like, what are some of the main things that you think have helped you develop the team that you have now?
Yeah, great question. I would love to say like I always knew I wanted to be a leader and all of these things and like, but I didn't. I just knew I needed a good team around me. And I was like, I'm going to teach you these processes. But when my husband, I'm very like, what is it, type A? Like I like to
Mhm.
have control. And I've learned like to let that go. But I learned the hard way, of course, for sure on that. I think you might have been there when we talked about my husband. I'm not sure if this came up or not, but he was diagnosed with a brain tumor 5 years ago. He's totally fine now. But it was very serious. We found out, and within 2 weeks, he was having a full on craniotomy. And I was like, "Here's control." Like I relinquish all control. So I went from like, "No, not doing that," to like, "Here, do it." And then I was like, they did amazing. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you don't even need me," but it was awesome to see that they took that and they ran with it. And, it was so inspiring. And so then from that point, I was like, where was the light bulb? Why haven't I been doing this for years? So I just continue to empower them, to educate them, to tell them, they're doing a great job, and for them to, get uncomfortable and just expand, on what they know and help others. And it has been the best thing ever. And so now, like, it's a part of our culture. And when I bring someone on, like, I give them a questionnaire, like, what do you want, personally? What do you want professionally? Where do you want to go with this agency? Where do you see yourself? Because I want you to get there. Like, what do you bring to the table? So
Mhm.
we have different people in my agency that love those things. Some have zero desire for leadership. They just want, recognition, or they just want to be the, the cheerleader of the group or whatever. But I try to put everyone in the position where they're going to thrive, and I really try to empower them. So if they do want to be leaders, like then I'm giving them every opportunity to do that. And it's been amazing. And so now, like, that's the culture now. I'm like, do it. If you fail, and you probably will, and that's okay, because that's how you're going to learn how to make it better next time. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting how life kind of forces those lessons on us sometimes. Like it's like you're not letting go of control. Like we're going to give you this lesson that just makes you get rid of all of it. And you'll see that it's not as bad as you thought it was. But
that literally is my life. Like, seriously, I feel like because I run so hard, like I'm just wired. That's just the way I am. People are always like, when we first started talking, you're like, you've done so much over the last couple of weeks. I'm like, it really has been like overwhelming. I put too much in there. But like you said, sometimes you're forced to stop
yeah.
or to slow down. And yeah, like, because usually it's me either like getting really run down or getting sick. I ended up with shingles.
Oh,
Shingles.
really?
Yes,
Oh my
literally.
gosh.
After I got back, so I'm on the better end of it, but that was my body going, slow down. Like, you're about to hit a brick wall, girl.
Yeah.
3 conferences and speaking and doing all these things, and then I was just trying to go, 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 and I knew I was not listening to my body, and my body said, "Hey, how
Mhm.
about this?" So I laid in the bed for 3 days, and I was like, "All right, I feel better."
I just posted about that like a couple weeks ago about the fact that if we don't like prioritize our like physical health and our mental health like right now, our body's going to do it down the line for us. It will tell us like you've done too much. I'm going to make you sick. I'm going to make you take a pause. Something's going to happen in your
Yes.
life that's just going to make you and force you to slow down because you won't listen to yourself. And it's so funny because I think when you spoke at the conference that we were at, we were talking about like time management and self-care,
Work-life balance.
work-life balance. And so it's so interesting that like we can talk about it all the time and we can see the signs and stuff, but also I think it's really hard when you're in those moments to maybe recognize that it's too much or whatever until something forces you to slow down a little bit.
Like, when I spoke in Denver, it was about, work-life balance. And I was like, I can speak on this because you have to like fail at something and be really, really good or really, really bad to be able to like be confident on it. And I know the things that I need to do. And I was like, and I'm a constant work in progress because I mean, I've just I'm in my 40s and I know who I am now. I'm like, this is me. So like now what do I do to help myself?
Yeah.
Um, when I need to, because I'm older and it's not near as easy to run like I used to. So, scheduling things out, like I put my and if I don't, like you said, your body's going to tell you. And like mine, usually, if it's not getting sick, it's like my brain spirals with anxiety and then just the
Hmm.
repeat of anxiety over and over. Like I have terrible, debilitating at time anxiety. So I can feel it coming on usually. And I'm like, okay, time to schedule, a day out of the office, a mental health Monday, or time to go get that massage and just have some downtime. Time to like go do yoga upstairs and do an extra long meditation because all of those things are so good for my mental. And so I've really tried to incorporate more of that, daily into it. But I have to pencil it in, like I pencil in an appointment, because if it's not there, like I said, I'm like all over the place. So I look at my calendar and it says, if it's not there, well, the day is gone. And then I'm not doing it. And then I'm on to the next thing that I have to do. So I want to make sure to get it, penciled in. And that helps a lot. So still
It's
not
that
perfect at it,
it's
clearly.
that
Dig up a
ADHD
shelf.
brain of us, you know? So actually our first episode of this next season is all about how ADHD and entrepreneurship can like work together if you figure out the systems and things that you can put in place. One of the things with me is major time blindness. If it is not written down on my calendar, if I don't have an alarm in my phone, and if it's not on my digital calendar, it's not gonna happen.
I know. Speaking of, like, look, I mean, I had to like set one first, but like, look at all these. Like, that is, I'm like, don't forget to pick up your kids. Don't forget to go eat. Like, don't forget to get up and pee. Like, we talked about that. Like, I'll be in a zone and just like, it's 2 o'clock. No, 10 more minutes. And then it's 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
But, having this personality helps me be successful. But like you said, there's a lot of downside to it too. And so, like, Kirby is my, so I'm the big visionary. I have 1,000 ideas and my brain's going 1,000 miles a minute. And she's like, slow your roll. Like, let's implement these things. And she's my integrator. And that's how you can find some balance, is having people like hiring to your weakness. So I do a lot of that for sure.
I love that. So when you're like bringing on somebody as a new hire, when do you decide that you need to hire somebody new? Is there like a time or a break point that you hit that you're like, okay, we need somebody else? And then B, what does your onboarding and hiring process look like? Does it include like a personality test or forms and questions or things like that that can kind of help if they're going to be a good fit for what you're needing in the team?
Yeah, so I try to, like, my onboarding process. I've I've done both. Like, well, I've done all things. I've used hiring companies. I've done it myself through Indeed. But no matter what, I give them some instruction via email that says, three things, before we schedule like the phone interview or the final interview or whatever, and they have to follow it to a T. If they leave out one thing, I'm like, okay, well, you didn't do that. You're not following direction already, like, because you're supposed to be on your A game, right? You're getting the best in the interview. So if
Right.
if they're not checking all the boxes, I'm like, that might be a sign that they're, of a flag to come down the line where they might not be, as on top of things as they need to. Because follow up in this business is key, right? Like, we're salespeople, you have to follow up. If you can't do the couple things that I ask you in a row and get them done quickly and efficiently, well, then I'm already like red flag. But for me, um, how do I know if they're going to be good, and how do I know if I need to hire again? Well, I'm big on processes. So I teach you the process. I want you to work the process. I want you to drink the Kool-Aid, right? What we do works. I mean, I'm 16 years in the business. I've tried it all. I know what works for us and where we're at. And if you're not willing to do that, I can see it in the first 90 days, because I give you checkpoints. I give you a daily, here's how many quotes you need to be doing. Here's how much talk time we're looking for. If you don't have the quotes, here's how many dials you need to be making. It's a numbers game, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if they aren't doing the effort, because the effort is huge for me, they're never going to get to where they need to go. So I know if you do X number of calls and you have X number of quotes and this is your close ratio, I know you're going to hit X number of items. So I have a requirement in my agency that you have to have so many, VC, it's variable comp items. And if you don't do those, then we have a conversation. And if you have back to back, don't do those, we have a job in jeopardy. So I know I can kind of see the writing on the wall in the activity and the items, like all the data's there. We live in a big tech world, so it's easy to see because most of my people are remote. Like I don't need to physically see you on the couch, not, watching Days of Our Lives trying to quote. Like I can see it in your numbers. I can see it in what you're doing in your daily activity. So that's when I know, like, okay, I probably need to start looking because I'm going to do everything I can to invest in you, but I can't want it more than you. And if you're not going to give me what I need, then I have to let you go. So I make sure I have those parameters in place for that. And then, that's for the sales side. And for the service team, it's a little more tricky, right? Because if you do so much hand holding with your customers, then they just expect, and then you're just worn to death, kind of being like, I'm always like, don't be their mama. Like you're not their mama. You don't have to call them every time and remind them of their payment. They're like, oh yeah, I'm waiting on you to call me so I can make the payment. I'm like, no, like set it up on automatic draft, like do things but you can kind of feel it with your service people. Are they able to get the daily tasks done that you need them to do? Are they able to get through the outbound calls, the renewal calls? Are they stressed? What's their overall demeanor? Or a bunch of calls going to voicemail? So I look at those as cues, and then decide, if I need to bring someone else on, because, you can really get burnout getting yelled at all the time about rates and this and that. So we try to have a balance of inbound and outbound so that some days you don't have to deal with that. And then you're just only dealing with the good side of the service stuff. Right. But yeah, those are kind of the things that I do to, know when I need to hire more.
Nice.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Place for that.
No, I was laughing at your "don't be their mama" comment because we actually, our team, bought out an older advisor. So like each of my two advisors that I work for had like built up their own businesses, and then once they reached a certain point, they decided they were going to team together and buy out an older advisor of all of his stuff. But his clients are very used to the hand holding all the time, so we're trying to like slowly work these older clients out of all of the hand holding. Man, is it hard. Oh,
yes.
gosh.
It has been, and I remember because I started from scratch. So I did so much of everything, right? I did the reviews. I took the calls, I was doing it. And then those customers expected just to talk to me. I'm like, well, again, I'm one person. Like there's no way like I could do that. Now I have to have a good team of people. So I had to train those customers to be like, I trust Debbie. I trust Joseph. I trust Josh. I trust Crystal. They're amazing. I've trained them. They know more about it than I do at this point, looking at the system because they're in it every day. So I really try to transfer that influence. So when they just like demand to talk to me, I will pick up the phone. I will talk to them like, you know what? Let me get you back over to Kirby because she's the one who's really going to be able to help you. She's the one that's, so I really try to do that because it's hard. Because I did a lot of I brought that on myself once again, with the hand holding, but I think
you can't really help it when you're by yourself at the beginning.
But, I learned there's a difference in, what good customer service is, and that doesn't mean we try to do everything, bend over backwards for, in the service and take care of their coverage needs. But when it comes to, late pays and this and that, like, there are so many automations that we can do for that and that can help you with that. We don't spend a ton of time there. We want to always, reach out, and we have a drip that'll go through and a text that'll go through and an email reminder. But, having one person just do all that tedious stuff or mail their ID cards to them every time, like there's an app, like we really try to educate them and help them get more automated. And that helps a lot.
Yeah, it really does. And there's so many like easy systems to put in place now in every business, whether it's like automated emails or scheduling or like any of those things. It makes it so much easier if A, we can set up systems, and then B, have the people to support those systems behind them. And like you said, making sure that when you're hiring somebody on, they understand the systems, they follow the systems, and
Mhm.
are able to follow through. Because I think that's part of the hard part of letting go of control, is like you build those systems in place. So your clients expect a certain level of like attention to things or follow up or whatever. And if people aren't doing that, it reflects badly on you as the, agent that they're used to working with.
Yeah. And I tell my team all the time, I'm like, if there is an issue and you need me to get involved, I'm there, because sometimes, you know, how they talk to me versus how they talk to a service member is different,
Mhm.
and so I let them know, like, hey, I have your back, but I do want you to try to show the customer that they don't have to always rely on us because number one, I don't want that added pressure. Like, what if I'm out sick? What if I'm on vacation and you are waiting on me to call you on your payment? And I don't want to be the cause why your payment was late. So like, let's just do the automation, and they sit there and like, well, that's true. So that's really helped with like our efficiency and time back so that my service team can like work on bigger issues. Maybe there's a complex billing issue. Maybe there's a coverage issue. They want to have, we want to be able to talk to our people about life insurance and appropriate coverages and all of those things instead of just like mailing out certain things that could be done automatically. Right. So it's much more time spent and better time spent if you do those things.
Yeah. Well, and so in our agency, we're actually working on hiring somebody. They start next week, and one of our older ladies is going to be retiring at the end of this year. So we're working on the transition between those two. And it's kind of interesting because we definitely were talking about, okay, how are we going to like teach her the systems? How are we going to walk her through like all of the processes for everything? And how do we know what her like best learning techniques are? Because I remember when I came on the team, like I obviously had some base of knowledge, but again, as an agent, you don't know everything about every system because there's so many different things that you're working in for everything, whether it's quotes or like applications or underwriting or like any of the things. There's so many different things that you're trying to work through the different processes of, that the people on the back end are actually the ones who know those better than anybody else. So it's way better for them to work, for us, it's going to be two of our uh, back end group that's going to be working with her to train her, because we kind of have some specific things that we're looking for her to take over. But I mean, I started out in one role, and as I've grown, I've kind of transitioned to a different role, which has been really nice because, again, like you said, it's so interesting when you talk to people and you get to know them, you get to know their learning style, their goals, whether it's personal or professional, or like any of those types of things that drive them, right? Whether it's the appreciation, leadership, money, whatever it is, you can put those people in the right places. And even if they weren't the right fit in one area of your business, they may be the right fit in another.
1000%. My thing is like, I can teach you the how to work a process, how to work a system, but I can't, in certain things, certain skill sets, but I can't teach you to be a salesperson if you're not a salesperson,
Yeah.
right? I can't teach you those things if you're not driven like that, and you can be in that constant drive and you don't have that mindset. There's no way you can teach that. So we had an employee. He was awesome. He was like, I want the chance. I've never been in insurance. Like, but I want to sell because I want to make the money, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, like, I'll give you a shot. He was really ambitious and he did, really good. But then I saw it taking a toll on him because and he just his wasn't built for that. But I was like, I don't want to, but he was so good and he was always picking up service stuff or taking on, and I was like, your job is to sell. I need you to sell. We have a service team for that. You don't have to do that other stuff. Send them over to the service team. It's going to be fine. Well, I just felt, and I was like, why is he in this role? he belongs over here. And when I sat down and had a conversation with him, because I think he thought, I'm just going to keep grinding it out because I love working here. I want love working with all these people. I love working for you. I don't want to get fired. I was like, but you don't belong in this role. And we have a lot of roles, and this business is evolving. And I'm like, why don't we try service? Man, like he's like our best service person. He's like and it's cool because he kind of has the sales side of it too. So the cross selling is super easy for him, and he just tees it up to our sales team, and like he crushes at that, and he found his role, and sometimes you have to move people around. There was no way I was gonna let him go just because he didn't fit in one facet of my agency. He's always there. He's always, just positive. He's always willing to put himself out there and learn, and you cannot teach those things. So it's like, nope, let's find your place here. So we found it, and it's been really cool to see that.
I love that. And I think more employers need to think about that when they're hiring and bringing new people onto their team. While we may want them to fit into the specific thing that we have in mind for them, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And it's better to keep those really good people on our team and just kind of work with them to make it be whatever it needs to be for both parties. It should always be benefiting both people. Otherwise, that's where you get massive turnover rates and other things because people can't stay because they're not getting the things that they need from it either.
Right. And you make a good point when you're like, they're not getting what they need. I think a mistake that a lot of business owners make is they come in and they're like, okay, I want you to write this many items. I want you to make this many dials. Or on the service side, I need you to call these people and blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have a process behind it, you don't give them the tools that they need, the training, the education, the talk path, the support, then how do you expect them to do those things? So you can't say, it's a two-way street, right? You can't say, go do these things and then just say, you can, but it's probably not going to work out very well for you. You need to have some expectation on the back end, that you need to give them a process. You need to hold them accountable, but you need to hold yourself accountable to holding them accountable. Because I think that's where a lot of agents kind of check out. They're just like, all right, go do this. I told you to do this. And then they don't inspect what they expect. And then they wonder what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you didn't give them the tools, or you didn't follow up, or you didn't do your part as their leader. So that's a big thing that I really work on everyone has a responsibility. Everyone knows what is expected of them. It's in black and white. They see it, they sign it. We talk about it, we reinforce it. And, everything kind of trickles down. I'm talking to my leadership team, and they're talking to the team, right? And then they're talking to each other, and then it all comes back the same way too. So
yeah,
that's a big thing.
Well, and I definitely think I've seen leadership on both ends of that spectrum, like the micromanagers that literally have to be in everything that you're doing. And you're like, why did you even hire me if you're just going to do everything yourself anyway?
Right.
Or on the other side, where they hire you and then just let you go without giving you any sort of training or any sort of direction on what you're supposed to be doing or how to do it or any of those things. And I definitely feel like falling somewhere in the in-between is the happy place.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where I try to live. I focus on what I can control. And then everything else, I don't put a ton of time and effort into that. So I know that I can't control if you work for me and you live in a different state. I can't control if you are watching TV on my time. I'm not sitting there in front of you. I can't walk by your desk and see if you're on your phone or on Facebook or whatever. But I can control what you're doing every day as far as from an activity standpoint. So when I don't get the numbers that I need, it tells me everything I need to know. That I don't know what they might be doing that I can't control it, but I see that you're clearly not doing the things that I am in control of, that I know I give you the tools for, and that we have the lead generation for. So it's easy when you break it down and you measure things like that. I know some agents, especially in the remote world, they have people on Zoom all day long. And they're like, it's just like being in the office. You're in little rooms. And I'm like, that is cool. And the cool thing about this business, you get to run it the way you want it. But I'm like, there's no way I'm ever doing that. I'm not, well, never say never, but like, that's just not something that I need. Like, that to me is like, if I have that big enough trust issue there, like maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe everybody should be in house, because, I don't want to be on camera all day. Like, that just doesn't, and I guess you would set it and forget it or whatever, but like, I can see your dials. I can look at all the things that I need to look at and know, is this a good employee? Are you positive? Are you active in the chat? Are you doing all the things we do on a daily basis? So I don't need that. Lord, no. I'm way too ADD anyway. Like,
Yeah, right.
I don't want to control all that.
Well, and I do think it's so interesting that you have a lot of remote employees, because I feel like especially right now there's kind of this like power play where people are like trying to bring people back from home to business after, COVID, where everybody was forced to go home. And now a lot of places are like, we're 5 days back in the office again. And a lot of people now are so used to like having the freedom of working from home that they do not want to go back into an office setting. I know for me, like I work from home all the time. But like you said, I think if you can control what you can control, and there are systems and stuff in place where you can see, like, is the work being done? Is she completing tasks? Is she reaching out to customers? Is she doing dials? Whatever it is, like, that is what truly matters at the end. And how they got there maybe doesn't matter as much as long as they're following the systems and things that you have in place.
Right. I think it's just like how people learn in different ways and in different I feel like people work in different ways too. Because when we went home, when all of us went home, some of the team members like activity was like, "Arr," and some of them just looked crazy. And I was like, whoa, never done that. Because they're busy talking in the office. Now they're talking to their prospects, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be very disciplined at home because there are a lot of distractions. I do very well at home because, like I said, I get in a zone and like I don't get out of it. Like I'm just in it. I mean, the laundry and the dishes can sit there. It doesn't bother me at all, but some people can't, right?
Yep.
So I try to make it with the remote world because it can kind of feel like you're on an island by yourself. So I try to make it as inclusive as possible. So we have Zoom. We're not in a Zoom cameras all day, but we have Zoom chats, team chat, service chat, sales chat, a 1 p.m. check-in. What's everyone doing? All of that. And I can see their green bubbles. And like, if I chat something out and you're not Johnny on the spot, well, you're not at your desk. If I just click to Zoom call you with the FaceTime right there and you don't answer and you decline, well, you're not at your desk. So we kind of monitor those things. But when you set the expectation from the beginning and let them know, and then you show them that you don't have to do that for too long. Then it's more of a spot check because you can, they know that you are on top of it and you can see it. So I just think it's important for business owners that if they're going to go that route, and I think that everyone should give it an opportunity, it just opens your talent pool to places you never, instead of that 20-mile radius, now you have I have people across the country, east and west, and that fit our culture. And then if you have the processes and the accountability in place, it could be great for your business. It has been phenomenal for mine. But don't get me wrong, we fell on our face a lot, learned a lot okay, we're never going to hire that kind of personality again. And now we learned about this and what they could do with that. And now we don't send laptops to our remote people because, again, you can just take your mobile little office and go straight into there in the living room and do whatever and answer. So now we're like, nope, you have a tower, you got your 2 monitors. So everything is right there in your dedicated space. Send us a picture of your office where you're not right in the living room with your kids. Like, we need to know those things and we can control that. And it makes a lot of things easier as well.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about just like making sure you're hiring the people right from the start, like giving them the systems, processes, and rules, and then following through with it. Have you had situations where you hired somebody on, and of course, when we hire people, like we're given their best face, and then like 4 or 6 months into it, you realize that they're not a good fit for you, and then how do you work through that? And like, is it hard for you to let people go once they're kind of on your team?
Oh my gosh. That used to be like, the downfall, because I get so close with my people. So then when I would get the excuses, like wanted to believe that excuse too, because I didn't want to let them go. And then I was like, I wanted it more than them. And like, I can't want it more than them. And so now it's a lot easier. Like I said, I have a 90-day ramp up, and I give you a ramp up period to do X, Y, Z. I don't say come out the gate, like throttle down and do all this. Like, you've got to learn our systems. That takes time. You got to learn our process. That takes time. Even if you're from an exclusive agent, maybe even with Allstate, but the way we do things here is differently how your agent. And so I want to teach you. So we give you time to ramp up. But at that 90-day mark, like, you should be like dialed in.
Full go.
If you
Yeah.
aren't hitting it, then it's a very easy conversation, because then I just pull up the data. You've been out this many times, you've been off, we've sent you this many leads, you didn't follow up with this many people. I looked at your CRM, you don't have workflows on, you only did 4 quotes today, or your average is 4, everybody else's average is 15. Like, I don't think this is the best fit, so, and then we just go our separate ways. So it's either very fast in that timeline, or it's more of like the 3-year mark where you might be getting a little burnt out. Like, you've done all the things, all the things, and then you kind of become complacent and a little burnout. And that's hard, because you can get burnout in sales. That's when, to me, it's harder, because in the beginning, like, and then I know you after 3 years, but I still, I'm very, we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to talk about things and what you need and what I need, and see if we can, get through this. But, I will be very formal and give like a performance review or a job in jeopardy. And like, you have so much time to turn this around. And if we have this conversation again within a calendar year, we have to part ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's still difficult, but not near as difficult when you just, set the expectation, follow the process. They know the process, and you don't deviate from that. It makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
But
Clear expectations is really important, especially in scenarios like that.
yeah, it's
So,
still tough,
well,
it's part of it.
yeah, I think it is always tough, like letting go of people. And I think a lot of business owners are afraid of that. But if you have those expectations and you follow through with them, you end up creating an environment where the best people come to your team and thrive on your team. So,
Yeah. And if and your team is watching all the things that you do and all the things that you don't do. So if you're just letting someone get away with something over and over, then guess what happens? It's a cancer. Then it just spreads. So it's happened to me a lot. Like, I can speak on it because, again, experienced it, done it too long, watched it spread to everyone else. Then I was like, oh crap, now it's a ripple effect. And now I just don't let it get to that point. Everyone knows. And if I see, we have this model, like, see something, say something. Like, if I see it, I'm just going to come and ask you about it, not accusing you, but I want to know, hey, what's going on? This is not your normal behavior. Are you going through something outside of work? Can we talk about it? Is there anything I can do to help? But at the end of the day, I have to run a business, and I hired you just to do a certain job. And if you're not doing that job, then you can't stay on my team.
yeah, which is fair. I mean, as long as those expectations are set beforehand, they can't say it wasn't fair, right?
That's all right.
Well, so when I met you, one of the things that I thought was like the funnest and coolest about you is not only do you have this massive team you're running, and you have a family and 2 boys, which I'm sure are involved in all of the things, which keeps you busy. But you also do a ton on social media to like promote yourself, which is amazing, because I feel like especially the insurance industry is very like touchy with how you do your marketing and things like that. How did you get started in that? And like, how do you come up with like different social media skits and things that you always do?
I know people ask me that all the time. They're like, where do you come up with this stuff? And I'm like, well, I just watch other people's stuff, and then it inspires me, and I just put it in, a format that sounds like me. But I knew I needed to be in the social media space, because traditional advertising, it still works, but there's so many modernized things, right? And we're all in our phones. We're all in our phones. Everywhere, you're waiting in a doctor's office, you're waiting in line at the grocery store, whatever. Like, I want to be in that space and treat it like any other lead source. So I was like, I've got to do this. And people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Right. So I just present who I am. I just try to be authentic to who I am. All the music that I post, it's music that I love. All of the videos of me and my family, like it's just real stuff that I want to show. I don't show everything about my life, but what I'm comfortable with sharing, I share because that relates with other people. And then I just try to position myself, as an expert, giving you, really good information, because I know if you're not my customer, you're looking at that going, I didn't know that. My agency didn't tell me that. And then the next thing I know, I give them a call to action and, here's click my bio or here's my web form. And I'm getting a quote from them, and when I'm educating people, my customers see it and they're like, oh, that's good. Okay. I have that. Oh, and Brooke saved this person, money. Well, good. That means she's probably saving me money too. And then someone who's not my customer is going, huh, she saved this person from State Farm. How much? I'm a State Farm. I need to call Brooke. And it's being top of mind. But last year I did a boot camp with Christina Shaw. She's like awesome. If you don't follow her, she's a social media queen as well. And I learned a lot to set the foundation. And then I just went out there and started following, other people in insurance that were doing well, other, just influences or just pages and mentors of people that I liked. And, I spend time in it and I treat it like anything else. Like if you're going to have, this is going to be a lead source, I'm going to see what my return on investment is. I'm going to find ways to calls for, actions to me. But it's been really, really fun. I was so freaking scared when I first started because everybody's like, you're so confident. And I was like, dude, it took me like 4 hours to do my first one. Like I had so many things. But anytime you do something the first time, it's not real pretty, right? But you do get better at it. So I've just seemed to have gotten better at it and more comfortable because I've expanded that, comfort zone. And now I love it. And, I just continue to do it and now try to help people do it as well. So Casey,
now she's an insurance social media queen.
Casey calls me Queen of Reels, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep up the reels or I'm gonna lose my title.
How do you deal with the regulatory side of it? Do you ever worry about those things when you're making it, or do you have some set standards that you're like, okay, I can't talk about X, Y, or Z on here?
Yeah, well, obviously there's some things that, I don't cross anything, on any type of retirement and regulatory things that I know that my company would be against. I also brand everything to myself. And Brolo Insurance Group. So it's got my name or Brolo Insurance Group. People know where I, have my agency and things like that, but I don't get very particular in certain things. I just do more big picture type things. And I keep it very open. Like with my company, we do this. Check with your company, but if you don't know, we're happy to tell you, call us. So it's very broad on things like that. So I just did a post today because I was driving down the road yesterday. There was so much crap on the highways. I was like, I'm just dodging. Like there was a couch, then there was a mattress, then there was debris. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, you know what? I should do a video about this. And so it was like, hey, have you ever wondered, if I hit something on the interstate, like a fixed object, how is that covered? Or what if a rock, how is that covered? So I just talk about here, big, scenarios of how things would be covered. And if you don't know, make sure you check to see if you have these types of coverages. These are typically what are covered under them, but call us and we'll help walk you through your, policy and help you out. So again, just trying to give good, solid information that people might want to know. So, or be dealing with.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you said, I mean, social media is such a huge marketing tool now that it would be a waste not to use it. And how many times would you say that you've had people that reached out specifically because of your social media?
Oh gosh. Not only new clients, but just friends, realtors, my COIs, lenders, hey, what are you doing? Hey, can you share? And I'm like, yeah, I'll share. But it's been phenomenal for my business because like you said, it's a huge tool. And we spend a lot as business owners in like marketing, print ads, buying leads, doing all these things. And I'm like, social media costs nothing but your time. That's it. And you can get a lot of, exposure, and be seen as that person in your area as the go-to for insurance for free. Of course you can target and do Facebook ads, and I do some of that targeting type stuff, but it costs you nothing. Like, why would you not use it? And just show people who you are, and what you're about. And those are the people that you're going to attract. So, and the people that don't like it, unfollow, don't like, okay, cool. Like, I don't want, you're not going to please everyone, but you are going to appeal to a certain market. And those are the type of people that you want to connect with anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where it's really important to just like be authentic to yourself. Because if you're authentic on social media, it brings in the right types of people to you that you're going to want to be clients, or, if you're hiring through there or anything like that too, So, I mean, obviously social media brought me to Casey, and then eventually me to you, and all of the things. So it's amazing how those connections all work, and it brings the right people into your space. So
that's right. Very cool. I know. I love it.
Well, I think we're just about ready to wrap this up, but any tips, tricks, tools that you think are important for the woman who's doing it all right now and struggling to do it all?
Okay. Yes. So the biggest thing, I could go back through all the things we talked about today, but the biggest thing, and we kind of said it before we went on camera, is show yourself some grace. Like, you are most of us high achievers and working at a high caliber, we're so hard on ourselves. We're so critical. We feel like if we're not doing something that we're just being lazy, and that's just not true. So we have to change that mindset. So show yourself some grace. Ask for help when you need it. Like, I used to think, oh my gosh, because I coach too, because I also coach with Craig Wiggins Coaching. And I was like, well, I can't ask for help. I'm a coach. A coach needs a coach. So I'm 16 years into the business. I don't know everything. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to like learn from someone else. So, my thing is just show yourself some grace, and surround yourself with positive people that are going to lift you up, and clap for you. Those are the biggest things that have really helped me. And just lastly, like being where your feet are. If I'm at work and I'm dialed in 100%. If I'm at home with my kids and I'm dialed in 100%. So everything else might be kind of chaotic, but and in that moment it could be, but I am dialed in and I'm there in the chaos. But definitely show yourself some grace.
Yeah, so important. And we did talk about it beforehand, that something I'm still working on myself. So we're always a work in progress, but this has been such a great conversation. Yes, love it. Progress over perfection. That should always be our go-to, because we're never going to be perfect, but we're all trying our best out here. So thank you so much for coming on. Where do we find you? Where do we follow you on your social media? All of the things.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, I'm B Brolo. That's BBROLO. On Facebook, I'm Brooke Brolo. LinkedIn, Brooke Brolo. Pretty much my name on everything else. TikTok, all the things. You can email me at brookebrolo@allstate.com. And I think that's it. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Text me, email me, call me, all the things. Follow me.
She's great. Yep, she's great. So go follow her. Tell her that you found her here. Tell her that you love her from me. So thanks. So glad we got to have you on. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on the Mompreneur podcast. And if you like this episode as much as we did, give us a follow so we can invite you back every Wednesday. And of course, share it on all your socials. Being a confident mompreneur means uncovering your strengths and struggles so you can dive in and learn how your next steps could be your greatest.